At this time, I'd like to call the Kansas City Board of Public Utilities General Session Meeting of June 18th to order. We would like to welcome all listening and viewing this meeting of the KCK Board of Public Utilities, whether in person or through technology. This meeting is being recorded by both video and audio. During the visitors' comment section of the agenda, community members who wish to speak to the board will be asked to provide their name and address and will then have 3 minutes to speak. Members of the public using Zoom that wish to address the board need to use the raise hand feature at the bottom of the application or window to signal that they wish to address the board during the visitor comment section. In addition, there will be a public comment section after the general manager / staff reports. During this section, the public may comment on this evening's agenda items. Members of the public connected by phone only need to press *9 to indicate they wish to address the board in the visitors' comment section. Those attending in person should sign up on a sign-up sheet located near the entry. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and should be directed to the board. As these comments are public, the board cautions visitors to not disclose confidential account information or information on an account that is not in their name. Staff will not provide individual account information or history in an open meeting. As always, the public may also email or call the BPU with any concerns. The agenda and presentations may be found on the BPU website, or if you're using Zoom, they will appear on your screen. As a reminder, this is a business meeting of the Board of Directors, and we will conduct the meeting accordingly. The following rules apply to this meeting. Every person in this room will act respectfully towards each other. Personal attacks and accusations toward any person will not be tolerated.
But I'm trying to hear out here too.
State your specific issues to the board only. We will then determine staff's involvement. Attendees shall refrain from side discussion or individual commentary that interferes with speakers or with other attendees at this meeting. If a side discussion is necessary, please take it outside the boardroom. If any of the rules above are breached during this meeting, that individual is subject to be removal from the boardroom. My name is Tom Groneman, 2nd District and Board President. Other members of our board and staff include William Johnson, our General Manager, David Haley, Member at Large, position number 2, and Board Vice President. He is with us remotely, I believe, this evening. On my left, Stevie Wake Sr., 1st District and Board Secretary, Brett Parker, 3rd District, Mary Gonzalez, Member at Large, position 1, Rose Mulvaney Henry, Member at Large, position number 3, and Angela Lawson, Acting Chief Counsel. As a reminder, please put your phones on silent. Please also be aware that the microphones are very sensitive and can pick up and record comments made anywhere in the room. Before we begin our meeting, please rise and join me in reciting our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. David Haley
has his hand raised.
Okay. David?
A roll call. I was waiting for roll call just to make sure that I could come through, Mr. President.
Angie, would you please mark David as being present?
I will.
Thank you.
Angela, would you please take a roll call for attendance?
Roll call. Gonzalez.
Here.
Groneman.
Here.
I've already acknowledged Haley. Wake.
Here.
Mulvaney Henry.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay. At this time, before I ask for a approval of the regular session agenda, are there any comments or additions or to the agenda?
It's Rose, so moved.
Wait, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Roll call Gonzalez.
Aye.
Groneman,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Wakes,
Aye.
Mulvaney Henry,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Okay. Are there any additions, corrections, to the minutes of the regular session of June 5th, 2024?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Roll call Gonzalez.
Aye.
Groneman,
Aye.
Haley. Haley. Wakes,
Aye.
Mulvaney Henry,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Haley.
Aye.
That motion carries.
This time I turn the meeting over to Mr. Johnson.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Chris, is there anyone signed up to speak tonight? Rob, is there anyone online waiting to speak tonight?
No, sir, there are no hand raised.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to general manager staff reports. First thing on the agenda, we were asked to give a brief report on kind of where we are with the Quindaro and Call Plant site. I'll ask Jeremy to come up. We are looking for bidders on an RFP that we put out. So Jeremy, I won't say anything else. I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you, board. I know you've asked a few times kind of where we're at with this, and we are still in kind of the part of the process. So with that, we'll give you just a little bit of an update of where we're at today. We do have to be cognizant of the fact that the process is still underway, and we want to respect the confidentiality of all the bidders and the participants. So depending on what you might have to ask, we may not be able to give you an answer to keep the process what it needs to be and confidential for everybody. So if you would, Rob. So this is kind of a timeline of how we got to where we're at today. We worked with the purchasing group, Andrew Ferris, the eProd group, and Ingrid's group, and we put together the RFP. We then engaged anybody that was interested to have site visits, and we had 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6, because we had some other follow-up visits after some of the initial visits with anybody that was interested. And after that time, during January and February, the proposals were due back. The group of folks responsible for grading the proposals we have met. We shortlisted based on a couple of different criteria that we had set out in the RFP early on to come up with kind of our short list of vendors that we would like to follow back up with, ask them some questions. They give us some presentations, just some general back and forth. We're still having a lot of those discussions, and we have taken sort of a pause right now because some of what happens with some of the properties might be dependent on what comes out of the IRP, right? We just heard a lot of information about what we have today, where we might have a shortfall, and what might be needed in the future. So to kind of respect both processes, we've slowed down to make sure we don't prematurely get rid of something that we might need. Next slide, Rob. So this is kind of just what I just said. We're continuing some discussion with the vendors. We did have communications ongoing with them up to and including to today. So still very much in the heart of it. And then again, establish the future evaluation and analysis based on some of the other things we're working through here at BPU today. Next slide, Rob. This slide coincides with the next slide, but just for your reference, that is the Quindaro site. It's kind of an odd shape, and kind of in the middle there. If you would slide to the next one, Rob. Kind of in the middle there, that the white piece, we need to retain that piece no matter what happens. That's where our CTs are. That's where our fuel cells are. But you can kind of see enormity of the other two pieces. And then on the right side is kind of just the, what the footprint measures. So if you could go back one, Rob, I know it's kind of hard, but essentially that piece that we need to keep starts down at below at the two round cylinders and goes up to the river encompassing the substation and the CTs, right? Yep, and back down. And next one, Rob. This is the call. It's a little bit easier. It's not, it's all one site. You can see just kind of the, total area for that one. I will say, this one is a little bit, I'll say, probably easier for us to deal with because it has been sunset for so long. But it's attractive for a number of reasons. It's right near the highway, it's right near the rail, so. Next slide, please, Rob. And again, I told you to be brief to try to respect the confidentiality of all of the people involved that have responded to the RFP, so I don't want to violate any of that with them. But if you have any other questions that I can answer, I'll do so now.
I think this question could be answered. And Angie's like, can it, Rose? I have a question about an RFP requirement for environmental remediation and liability associated with that and how that would flow once an agreement is done. Can I ask that question?
Yes, I think you can, it just in very broad brush.
I'm just
Question,
curious
yes.
as to whether or not that was a requirement of the
That-
RFP.
That is, we have certainly discussed and considered that and are doing everything we can to make that, there, there are
Yeah.
some limitations. But we are doing everything we can to make that a condition.
Okay.
My question is, can we answer how many responses and what is the short list?
I can tell you that there is more than one, is what I've been instructed to
Okay,
to
very
leave it
good.
at.
Thank you very much.
Adding to Rose's question, so yes, I mean, any serious bidder and BPU as a utility knows that there's things that's gonna have to come up on the environmental front, okay? And none of us have looked past that. That's been part of a conversation that the bidders have brought forth and certainly things that we've talked about ourselves and that's not lost on us. I mean, I don't want to go into too much.
I understand.
No, but one of the things we can talk about, since the RFP itself is public, right, is one of the things that was important to BPU in there was future use of the site. So
I understand. Thank you.
And I guess I'll add on to that is what that future use looks like, I mean, we really can't say what that property is going to turn into today, but I guess our hopes today is if it is something that provides benefit to the community as a whole, benefit to BPU, hopefully it's something that produces jobs, produces revenue for BPU, produces tax dollars, revenue for the unified government, and provides some relief to the general population here in Whatnot County. I think that's the best we can hope for. But I mean, there's a lot in that, but there's a lot of things that still have to be decided between us, any potential partner, and then what needs to be done if we elect to move forward with any partner. So,
Now,
Okay.
does the UG have anything to say about?
well, so if it's a purchase, then the UG has to be involved. I mean, if it's a sale of the land, then I don't have the authority to sell the property. I have to go back and the unified government would have to authorize that sale. If it's simply a lease, then they do not necessarily have to be involved in that decision. But, I think the thing that I've done is I certainly have talked to the UG about this. I've certainly have talked to Wyandotte Economic Development about it in attempt to try to, help us make decisions on, and also let people know that we are interested in turning this property into some type of community benefit. So it'd be great. Kendall certainly knows about it. The previous mayor, current mayor, previous administrator, current administrator knows. The board knows certainly what we're doing here. So we're trying to at least communicate as best we can that, yes, I mean, these are properties that we would like to turn into something else, and hopefully turn it into more of a community asset than what it is today.
Is that building at is that building just deteriorated? Or, I mean, from the outside, it looks pretty good.
It's in pretty poor condition. And there are a number of things that, from a physical standpoint, there are some deficiencies. There's 3 emission stacks we had to have inspected this year. One was blowing around in the wind a little bit. We brought some experts in. They said, hey, look, it was back to the original drawings and things. It was designed to do that because of the way the wind swirls in that particular area. Well, I would just imagine somebody has seen that before, but it was during the course of a normal work day when there was a lot of things going on. Well, now there's nobody there, and you stand and stare and you see a lot of different things. But we have moved our contractors that were parking on the site off of the site
I
just
noticed that.
to try to limit. And, we had quite a problem with people intruding into the site.
Mm.
And number one, we didn't want anybody to get hurt, right? Or worse, because it's a dangerous place. There's just a lot of danger with the structure itself. I mean, you could climb, you could fall, you could whatever, right? So we felt like that was maybe enticing some people to be there. So we moved those folks out of there. We've deployed some cameras and different things down there, but it's in really poor condition.
Okay.
What's on, do you think, or what is the projected date of closure?
It's closed. I mean, it
When
is,
is the projected date of closing on a purchase or at least completing the process?
we will need to see what the IRP yields to make sure that there's nothing on either site that we could re-leverage, right? My personal opinion here, and there's probably nothing at that call site, but there may be at the Quindaro site. We've had to just spend a lot of money and time at call that just securing it. I mean, we still have to pay to do a little mowing and some other things. So we're really excited about what we can do with that one.
Are you saying we're excited as far as if we kept it?
We're excited to make a decision on that one first.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
So if there's anything else that develops over the next few weeks or a month or so, I mean, we'll certainly come back. And prior to us making any decisions, certainly the board will be fully updated and aware of what our thoughts are. So there's a lot to be considered before we get there. Next on the agenda, I've asked Jerry, this is not just a IT presentation, even though Jerry is standing up here, it's really a electric, water, IT, other parts of the utility benefits from this too. He's been wanting to present this for some time, so other things got in the way, so now he's
Well, you wanted it too.
I did.
This a boasting moment or?
All right.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, good. We're going to be talking about the geographical information system called GIS. in particular, the project called the Utility Network. It's an update on the UN project. So last board meeting, Darren McNew gave a presentation about the outages, and this is a bridge to that meeting 2 weeks ago. You see the outage map there for our system and the different icons there, and I thought that was kind of nice to see that the outage management system portrays all of that. Well, that's the current GIS system. And so this presentation, I've got a few slides. I'm going to hand it over to my enterprise architect and GIS analyst, Scott Malone, right here in front, to give the rest of the presentation about the UN project. There's a number of staff here, which we'll introduce a little bit later from the electric and water department. And I think you'll be pleased to see the progress and how the team has worked with IT to make this UN project a reality. So the topics I'm going to talk about today are 5 of them. What is GIS and what is the UN project? Is this a major project? Where has it been used before? And who's going to use it here at BPU? And how we're going to benefit from the UN project. And I'll introduce the project team. And I think I waited to last to show you the project team. You could be amazed at the competency and capabilities of that team. And then we're going to talk about the schedule like that. Okay. So with that, what is GIS? You can look at your iPhone for your Google Maps or your Apple Maps, and you can choose your map to say satellite. That's what we call a layer. Or you could say, no, I want to see the street names. And you could press that button, it shows you the street. So those layers on the diagram to the left shows those different things in a classic GIS map. With that, GIS is a company-wide platform that helps users manage and share what we call spatial data. It's going to integrate with all the other BPU software. We'll show you what that software we're going to integrate with, and enhances each one of them with spatial capabilities. And success for this project, like the GIS project before and the UN project that layers on top of that, it's going to work seamlessly with other applications. And the key to the success is having accurate data. Okay. So what we have in a diagram here is the key, I think, to BPU's IT success is that the enterprise service bus, here it's called the integration bus. The applications in a clockwise fashion from the top left, text messages. We introduced that just a couple of years ago, where we have outages, payments, billing, deposits, customer data, all through a text power solution. The centerpiece there, which is highlighted with a big circle around it, is our GIS. To the right, we just upgraded the smart metering system. This last year is one of the 4 major projects we completed. Smart metering through the ESB. To the right, bottom is the assets, which is, we all know, is our Maximo project, our Maximo application. Customer billings with our UMS by Kayenta, often called a CIS system, and the outage management system by Millsoft. All these applications in those circles we currently have, but they're not all quite integrated with the enterprise service bus. So it's been an ambition from Bill from once I got here, was to have all these systems integrated together. If you look at your phone, you have all these icons, very few of them integrated with one another. Mapping is starting to creep into all the applications by location services. It knows where you're at, where the restaurants are nearby. But our systems here at BPU is going to be quite tightly integrated, far better than most smartphones. So all the critical applications are being integrated, and it's really at a rapid pace. I'll show you the schedule. Utility assets for both water and electric will be in the palm of the hands of the users in the field. And it's going to be available across all critical systems. So your desktop, your mobile app in the field, your tablets, your iPhones, so that field workers, outage people that fix leaks, fix outages, will all have the GIS. You can see what's connected to each other. That's going to be another layer. pipes, wires, transformers, pumps, valves, all you name it, all the assets will not only be on the map, but it'll actually show what's connected to what. It's like your hip bone is connected to your thigh bone, like your backbone, okay? So that's what the UN is going to be doing, and they'll do it in extraordinary fashion. So with that, I'm going to introduce Scott Malone. Scott Malone's right here in the front seat. He's a person that I brought on board. I don't want to steal your thunder, but he came from a Colorado utility. He had GIS background. Dustin Miller, who couldn't make it, is on vacation today, our new director. He came with a GIS background at Maximo. So both people are very critical to the success of the project. His peer on the team is on a camping trip tonight. So we've got Scott and I, hopefully we'll do it justice to describe what the project is. Over to you. Forward, backwards.
Very good. All right. Thank you for the kind words, Jerry. As he mentioned, my name is Scott Malone, and I'm an enterprise architect in the IT department. Prior to that, I was on the IT GIS team for the previous 2 years, and I want to thank you all for the opportunity to talk to you today about a project that we've been working on with the rest of the GIS team for probably over a year now. So with that, we'll move into it. And so the diagram on the left there is a callback to the one Jerry showed earlier, and it has the layers, as he mentioned. He had shown parcels, customers, streets, etc. What we're doing here is representing our data, the data that we at BPU care about and need to have in our system. So you have outages, pipes, wires, transformers, pumps, poles, etc. So before I dive into the utility network, I want to take a step back and talk about some of the ways in which we use GIS today here at BPU. Over the years, both the water and electric department have come up with innovative ways to utilize our GIS systems, turning them into critical tools for our operations and distribution staffs. Whether you are in the field or in the office, our staff is able to locate and identify our infrastructure assets, whether they're on a tablet, a phone, laptop, whatever it may be that they're using to access the GIS. All of that information is available to them in real time. So some of the ways in which they have utilized the GIS, the water department uses it for their work order management and tracking system. And it has been essential for their lead and copper investigation and compliance project. The electric department utilizes GIS for their multi-year pole inspection project. And they also use it, as Jerry showed earlier, for their storm remediation efforts. So GIS is utilized across the utility in several different critical work initiatives on a daily basis here at BPU. So as we say here on the slide, with the utility network, it's the next step in our GIS system at BPU. So the utility network, or UN for short, is a connectivity-based model that will help us work to create a digital twin, which is a term you hear in the industry that describes a one-for-one replica of our actual physical networks in the field. So the utility network, with its connectivity model, allows you to capture and represent our data and our mapping products at a far greater level of detail than traditional GIS systems can accommodate. It also has a rules-based editing environment, which means that as new information flows into the system, those rules are in place and they will validate that data prior to it ever being committed into the databases. So the integrity and quality of the data from the very start is upheld. One of the main benefits of the utility network is its ability to accurately represent all of the physical components of our infrastructure networks. So, for example, take the transformer bank you see on the slide here. All three of those individual transformers that make up that transformer base are by themselves a critical piece of our electric infrastructure. And depending on the way they are configured, they could either be working independently or they could be working together. And they are also related to the distribution lines. that they're actually feeding the electricity to, and they're related to the pole that they're sitting on. So in traditional GIS systems, trying to represent that level of complexity presents significant challenges. And what ends up happening is you get a map that is cluttered and almost unusable if you try to represent that level of detail. So what the utility network does, and where we get benefit from it, is it has tools built into it, such as containment and associations, that will allow us to represent the densest parts of our infrastructure networks without the clutter. Effectively moving GIS beyond its traditional strength as a tool for operations support into a tool that can also be used to support engineering analysis and even network design work. So the UN is more than a mapping system. It provides us with tools that will help us with our maintenance operations as well as emergency response times. It is an advanced geographic information system. It's designed to model, manage, and analyze complex, dense utility networks such as our own here at BPU. It supports 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional map views, has real-time monitoring of network performance and incidents. And as Jerry mentioned earlier, it moves us a step closer to being able to integrate all of our critical systems in real time due to some of the technology that comes with the implementation of the project. So in short, we believe, everybody on our team at least, believes that everyone at the utility will benefit from this tool in one way or another down the road. So we've covered electric, water, as well as some of the system integration goals that we want to accomplish with this project. But we wanted to also frame this in terms of how is our customer service group going to benefit this, and how are our customers going to benefit from this project? So one of the main benefits that comes to mind when it comes to our customer service initiatives is the integration that is going to come online between the CIS Kayenta system and the GIS, and then also downstream of that, the Maximo asset management system. So when we integrate all of these systems together, we'll be able to provide the customer service representatives with better information and visibility when it comes to things like planned outages due to maintenance schedules, unplanned outages due to storms, maybe a main break, something like that on the water side, as well as service availability. So when we put maps into the hands of a customer service rep, for example, a customer could call in, give their address. The customer service rep can quickly look that address up on the map. They can see if there is an outage in the area. And then with the integration to Maximo, they can see if a crew has been dispatched or what the status is as far as the time to resolution. So those are some of the aspirational goals that we have for the project, and we believe it'll be of great benefit. So I wanted to take a second to quickly highlight the team. As you can see, there are a lot of us who are working on this project. On the left-hand side, you have the IT team with Jerry, Dustin Miller, as he mentioned, he's out of town. Rob Camp, project manager back there. And then Robert Carl and Tania Taylor, who recently moved over from the electric department, and then myself. From water, we have Kelly here today, the GIS manager on the water side. Steve is here. Don't see Chris, but we also have Philip in the audience. And then we have Eli Logan and Gary Schischler, who is a new employee here at BPU, and we're excited to get him ramped up and contributing to the project. And then, of course, over on the electric side, we have Darren McNew as the executive director. Pat Morrell has been of great benefit, lending his knowledge to this project. And then we have 2 new GIS analysts on the electric side as well, Megan and Bryce, and we have been actively training them up, and they've already been contributing to some of the project work. So I just want to take a second to recognize the team. We've all been working very well together. This is a massive undertaking, and all of these people that you see before you have day jobs, and they have to keep our current systems running. So we really do appreciate all of the effort and teamwork that we've been able to get out of everybody. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Jerry to provide some details about the project.
Any questions for Scott?
Oh, wow, this is great.
Thank you.
Okay, this slide here, I want to make a point to my boss. This is, you know, to thank my boss for this. It was his idea. We were doing 4 major projects last year: customer information system, the AMI system out in the field, for the smart meters. We did the meter data management project, and the My Meter one is underway or completed now. A couple of things you have to do with it, but four large projects. So he came to my office, just happened to, I told him I was gonna say this no matter what. I came to my office and I was with Robert, we're talking about some issues. You remember it, Robert? And he was talking about the importance of a utility network product. It was one of his things he wanted to get done. And I realized I had limited resources and, you know, and I just listened to him and he said, Jerry, how can we get this done? And so the epiphany that we had here was we were going to do them sequentially. We were going to do electric first and then do water. And it would be like a 2 or 3 year project. I thought maybe it was going to be kind of difficult to get done. But we felt with different teams in water and different in electric and with good project management, we can get them done in a year. So we are well on our way. If you look at behind you there, I like to use a laser printer, but much work has already been completed on this. We just got a few months to go. And integrations is going to be key. I'm pretty confident in the integration team that we got. It's stellar. Other CIOs have difficulty with getting things working. I think our saving grace is the ESB team. They can connect anything to anything and have it with precision, with accuracy, and it's cheaper to go through an ESB than rather companies that go point to point. And we just have this translator. It just translates English to Spanish back to English. It's phenomenal how it works. This is not a project or discussion about the ESB team, but let's focusing on the GIS. Stellar team, great support by management, the executive team here. We're going to get this thing done by the end of the year. That's our hope. We're looking for slack in the schedule so that if we slip, we still be on schedule. It may go on to the next month or 2, but not likely. Robert's the key leader on this, Robert Camp. We're driving for success. They meet frequently. They address issues. They constantly have agile meetings where they can accomplish what they need to set out to. It's a great team. That's where we are with it right there. We're on track. And I think that's the whole thing about the utility network. To be great for customers internally and externally. So thank you for your support in getting it done. And Jeremy's here with Steve Green and their team's making it happen. Thank you, team. Good all work. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for the team?
Oh, very impressed.
Okay.
Very impressed. Thank you.
No, okay. Some of these are going to be run by AI in the future. Look out.
Oh.
These the chips will be, so buy NVIDIA.
Well, a point I want to make is, I mean, Jerry keeps throwing kudos my way. And I would say this, you know, as he said, some of these systems have been around, GIS has been around for a while. And but the products, just like our workforce, changes over time. And the GIS system has really gotten better. It's improved over time. And I like to say the same thing about our staff. You know, we are really putting quality people in a lot of positions to be able to pull these things off. Now, years ago, there was no way I could have gone to Jerry to say, hey, get this done by this amount of time, you know, at least attempt to do it. But it really goes to show the talent of the team that we've assembled here and kind of where we're headed. So what I'm challenging them about with is continue to look forward, continue to plan forward, continue to think about the next 3 to 5 years, and think about the possibilities, but also think about how to get there. And I have no doubt that they will do a fine job of that. So thank you all for what you've done. Thank you all for building the systems, this project up to where it is, and I'm looking forward before I leave to go in full production. Thank you. Next on the agenda is miscellaneous comments. So I guess I'll start out with this comment. I will be asking the board to make time on your schedule going forward. So don't get mad at me. But there's a few committee meetings that we still need to wrap up, you know, if I can get feedback from the Economic Development Fund Committee on scheduling and try to get that in place. I mean, it could be, I know the last question I received was, does it have to be in person? Can it be remote? And yes, we can make it a remote meeting. But I do need to nail that down. Patrice has asked me more about that because she's hearing from a developer. The developer now is running directly to me, asking me about timing of the board decision around this. So if you can send me your thoughts, I'd certainly appreciate it. Customer service policy, I know that's close. So if we can get that wrapped up, that'll be great. Then, you know, we can certainly move on to other policy matters. If we have time. The IRP schedule that we just talked about, I mean, we need to move forward on that. There's certainly some dates and stuff that's in there. Please give that some consideration. You know, you may think it's real aggressive, but you know, we're trying to spread this out, and we've actually added more. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 meetings at one time where we're going to try to. We're trying to take our time and spread it out over 5 meetings. If we need to consider a 6th meeting, just let me know. We'll certainly take that back and try to do something with it. And then finally, sent out an email last week on the RFP process for a GM search firm. So I don't know if you have any thoughts, comments, considerations on that, but if you can speak to that tonight, so I'll kind of know how to move forward with having HR and purchasing start the next phase of this process. I'm certainly wanting feedback from the board tonight if possible.
I might have something that I just want to throw out just for consideration and maybe for a little discussion. Things that in the middle of the night when I wake up and go through my head. The last few years, we've been pressing our general manager and others on succession planning and getting a succession plan in place. I think we've made some strides on that. I would, you know, just like to say that perhaps before we go out and hire a search firm, that we do an internal search for applicants and see what this succession planning and what's happened, what we've developed, and see if there's anybody that we have in the organization that could step up and take over. It would save us thousands of dollars in the search firm. It'd save us time. We would end up with somebody that is local, has that knowledge already, and that wouldn't be coming in from the outside and have to address the issues that we have going on now, and you know, get up to speed. So I would just say that, you know, maybe we could discuss or talk about not you know, if we do internal and we do not have anybody that meets the qualifications that we have set out, that we don't, then we could go outside and bring somebody in from the outside, do the search firm. But before we go to that expense, I would think that we might want to consider looking internally. That's Any thoughts? And you're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Yes, yes, I am. No, I'm teasing. I'm just, thinking that, because of, a lot of things that have occurred within the county. And I'm really concerned about the diversity progress. When I spoke with, Bill, he confessed that, we weren't as diverse as an organization as we probably should be. And he took some responsibility for that. And I'm not sure that, someone from the inside could even, do any better, with that, with the focus that they have. They could probably prove me wrong, but I'm thinking that someone from the inside, would probably not be able to think broadly, and probably more objectively, than, our current culture, with BPU. That's my concern. And so I think that's why we, as a board, thought initially, and I think that's why I think most of us were looking for someone from the outside, someone with a fresh with fresh eyes, to look at the organization and move us continually forward.
Well, we don't know what we have unless we
That
we ask for somebody to put in their application. We may have the best candidate.
Yeah, I agree. We may have.
And
they
I'm
might
just
be right
saying,
here.
I'm just saying that would give us an opportunity to see internally what we have. And if we have somebody, fine. If we don't, then we can always go outside and hire a search firm or whatever.
Can see the financial appeal on that, right? And that if you can save the cost of the firm, I guess a couple things that I was curious about. My question might be for Angie. Are we able to do is it allowed to do an internal only posting, or do we need to, if we're going to do a posting period, make it available to everyone regardless?
No, you are allowed to
Okay.
do an internal.
Well, that solves one of them. I guess the other one concern was a little bit crunched on timeline. I know a firm makes that more challenging, but adding a step before that, I think, gives me a little bit of pause, because then if we have to pivot and do that, and I think maybe my biggest thought with me is I'm all for internal applicants. I think we should encourage it. I think is a great thing if people see their future moving up through the organization. But I also want us as a board and all employees, whoever is chosen, to have confidence in that selection. And I think if an internal candidate comes through the open process, through a firm or however we did that, might bring a little bit higher degree of confidence that they were chosen in a wide open search as opposed to segmented out. So I'm still wrestling with it, but that's kind of my initial thoughts.
Well, Stevie, to your point about diversity, there's no real chance. I mean, we might not get but one type of candidate. I mean, if we send this out to a firm, we can't really control who they send us. I see that would be your hope, that it would be a diverse group of people. And looking around this room, we are much more diverse than we used to be. We're probably not at the point that some people would like, but I see a lot of different faces around here that are not like mine.
Thank you. And, and go ahead, Rose. No, go ahead, Rose. I was just, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead,
No, you go.
go ahead, no, go, really.
I was just gonna say that we could go forward with the RFP while we're doing the internal search, so that we don't waste a lot of time or whatever. I mean, just
Appreciate that. Yeah, that's helpful.
Rose.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just think given the time constraint that we're under, because we are under a time constraint. Um, I mean, I think that might be more doable, the additional step, even if you do it on a parallel path, might be more doable if we weren't using an outside search firm. But that's what we all agreed to do. And so, unfortunately, I think we have to proceed down that path. Um, I'm confident that internal candidates, they'll apply. No matter which way we go, they'll apply. And, I absolutely, we've pushed on succession planning since I came on the board for sure. Um, and we want that to continue no matter what. But I, I think it's hard for me to swallow on June 18th, you know, to pivot, I guess, from what we just talked about 2 weeks ago. So,
I don't know that we're pivoting. I mean, we can still go down that route, but I think we need to, I personally think that it'd be, that we could look internally at the same time that we're getting the RFP ready to go out and we could, it would be, I feel bad to send it out and then say, well, no, we decided to go and find somebody internally because then the companies have gone all that time and expense. But I also think that, the expense, we should look inside first. That's my opinion. Again, we're ready to move forward, I guess, on the RFP, but I don't know that, it's absolutely.
well, I think as I mean, I think what we heard 2 weeks ago was that, the RFP process, finding a search firm is going to cost us in excess of $100,000 to find us some candidates, right? I mean, that is what it's going to cost the utility.
Or more.
Well, I mean, I know it will exceed 100,000 based on the numbers we heard 2 weeks ago. And it's likely that it will be closer to 150. I'm looking at Dennis. I don't know, but, to me, that's a lot of money to spend on this. So, I mean, I hear you. But we had some board members that were pretty adamant that they wanted to use a search firm. So,
We haven't sent it out yet, so we can still change our minds and do,
we can.
do what we want to do. I mean,
Well,
go ahead.
I have just one point that I would like to bring up. If we did the internal candidates first, then if I'm looking at that RFP correctly, it had that we do certain questions for interviews and that's all part of that process. Would the internal people have a whole different set of questions and
shouldn't.
interview? To me, it shouldn't be that way. If we're paying money for this and they're gonna do this interview thing and then we're trying to do it on our own, to me, I don't see that the two would be treated exactly the same.
Is the concern there, assuming the RFP process in a search firm, the firm would help develop their list of
Right,
questions, so
that's what I'm saying.
sort of inherently, that would be different than whatever we
But
did with that
yes.
first round. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
So,
And it'd be based on what we provided as well.
exactly. But not totally. I mean, the search firm, if we're actually paying the big dollars for them, I expect them to have expertise that I don't have in preparing for the interview and that sort of thing.
And we went through it before, so we know
Yes.
what they'll provide and what they won't provide.
Well, I expressed that 2 weeks ago, how I feel about it. So,
Well, and I think one thing, certainly in talking to some folks in the community, it's been suggested to me that we might mirror the process that the unified government used in hiring the county administrator. And that was, there was some public involvement in that process. And so, they had an opportunity to, at least, I don't know if it was interview the candidates. I don't think that's right, but it wasn't like we don't know who the candidates are. I mean, we knew who all the candidates were in that case. And Bill, I know you sat on that committee, to hire the county administrator. So, I mean, I think that, I mean, I may be suggesting that we add that into the schedule as well.
I think my position would be the same as 2 weeks ago. I'm in support of moving forward as timely a manner as possible with the firm. That said, if the majority of the board feels otherwise, I will fully be on board with whatever path we head down.
I just wanted to throw that out as for consideration and discussion, and it sounds like we've considered it and discussed it and the majority, or at least.
I just want our internal people to have the equal shot that everyone else has. I feel like if we're sort of parading them in here first, it might not be that way.
I don't know that it was, my intention was just to see what interests we had and who we had internal. We may not have it, anybody qualified. And I just wanted to, thought that it would be time and money and all that if we went.
I get your point. I just want, if we do have internal people, I just want them to be treated equally, the same.
If the
Get
board
the same
still,
process.
if the board is still will allow me to help you, I will make sure that those internal candidates do we have as equal opportunity as anybody external. Time is of the essence. I'm trying
Yeah.
to
Yes, sir.
trying to get started. So
I agree. I think we should go ahead and move forward, like we stated before, with the RFP.
Okay.
And
So there is a condensed timeline in there. When we met last week, we're trying to wrap this up, knowing that the board wants to move fast through this, and we will. And Rose, if you want to add a public committee or some type, I mean, that's what the unified government did. Effectively, every commissioner nominated somebody to serve on a interview panel. Now, let me put this out there. If every one of you nominated somebody and then every board member is still on that interview panel too, now we're getting probably 6, 12.
We should have started this a long time ago. This is not my fault.
No, I
But-
just-
I'm the one who's been pushing this issue.
yeah, we
Well,
have.
12 people are reasonable. That's still less than what the unified government had on the county administrators. But I guess if we're gonna go down that path, I would say provide at least 2 names, a primary and an alternate, and we'll try to make sure that we select from that group and have one person there and a backup in place as well. If you want to entertain some type of,
And that's something you can also ask if you're going to go with the firm, you can ask them for their suggestions on how to handle that. And we can add that into the RFP if you want.
Yep.
So,
that's what I
to
was
have them.
thinking, Angie, about adding it in there on Thursday and then getting it out.
So what do you need from us tonight?
Just a clear direction on where we're going. That's all.
So we know we want the RFP to go forward. We do know that we want, how many firms did we say 4?
We didn't agree. You said you had a couple and you did send me 2 firms.
What?
Well, if you have somebody that you want to receive it, if there's a search firm that you are familiar with, let us know. We'll just make sure that they know the process that we're going down, and we can certainly make sure that they have access to
Demand Star?
Manstar, right?
I mean, any firm should just,
Yeah,
that's the direction they should be pointed,
Right.
correct?
Man Star.
and that's all I'm saying is that we'll just let them know that
I don't recall that we discussed a specific number.
I don't
Oh,
know.
we
we
did.
didn't. We didn't.
My assumption was.
I guess I'm
as many
saying
as
that,
apply.
I'm saying that to
Yeah,
say
you
that not everybody knows about Demand Star, not everybody has access to it, so,
Okay,
we'll at least have to communicate that there's an RFP out, if you want that to hit a certain firm, let them know that Demand Star does have it's where we're placing this RFP. Any other thoughts?
I was gonna suggest just, it was mentioned, maybe adjusting the RFP if we wanted that public input. I wonder if that's something that we can, without spelling it out, put a little broad, that we would, one of the
Potential.
things we're asking is potentially how to best incorporate the public, or
Right, yep.
without saying we would like a committee where every board member
Okay.
nominates a person or two.
I don't know how I feel about that right now.
And that is, I think, something that
That's
if
why.
I feel like it's just
we-
one
if
more
there was specific guidance.
of-
Yeah, I think that's something we should communicate after we select the.
Well, they should know up front too, but
Okay.
but that's something that you can decide, if you're gonna be selecting the firm, so.
Okay,
All right.
So do you need more, is
Unless there's.
I was gonna
other
ask you,
things-
do you
other
need
things
anything
want-
else?
I want us to consider. so-
okay, yeah, because I didn't want you to be held up by anything.
Well, and I'm trying not to be held up.
So anything that we need to provide you tonight,
All right, so we're planning on getting with Becky on Thursday. I'm not sure the schedule of release. We'll try to get it released. I guess the timing of, we'll try to get it released by Friday. If not this Friday, it'll be next week. But, if you have something, send it to me, copy Dennis,
I would,
copy.
I wouldn't do that. I would have them,
Okay.
they need to bring it out now so
Right,
in
right.
in an open meeting.
Right.
Otherwise it becomes board action.
That's fine.
amen. Anybody have anything that they need to provide?
I've said all I need to say tonight.
I guess on that note, and I'm not an expert in this, but did speak with a couple of the Water One board members. They recently went through a GM search, and I hope I'm getting this firm right, but I think Raftellus, I can,
Can you email me that name, or spell it for me?
yes, it's RAFT
Okay, hold on. RAF.
FTELIS.
Okay. Anything else before we move on? All right, next item, public comments on tonight's agenda. Is there anyone sign up? Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, first person to sign up is Ty Gorman. So Ty, if you can come to the mic, state your name, address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, thank you. I'm Ty Gorman, 2843 Parkwood Boulevard, 67214. I would well, I'm sorry, I didn't come so late. My role, and since I've started to come to talk to you all, has been expanded to kind of up and down the 12 states of the Southwest Power Pool, working on utility planning in a variety of ways with stakeholders, and involving the Southwest Power Pool working groups. And so I wanted to first say the session today that I got to hear remotely on the IRP earlier was good to hear. The capacity expansion modeling, instead of just production cost modeling, the 20-year time period instead of 15-year, some of the updates to get us to industry standard are promising. I would just wanted to bring forward some comments based on the Evergy IRP process that I'm dealing with, just as comparison, which is basically that that integrated resource plan has been outdated before it emerges publicly by a series of federal and Southwest Power Pool policy changes that have come forward, that came forward during the capacity expansion modeling process that they engaged in over the past few months. And that includes the recent Federal Transmission Rule 1920, which really kind of overarchingly requires better regional planning metrics for value from transmission than have ever been proposed before for utility plants, including municipal. It includes 111D pollution and the types of environmental rules that were kind of the surface was scratched in the planning meeting that was that you all had today. So I think there's more permutations to that can be brought forward as to how it affects gas, as to how it affects the regional planning that's being proposed from federal agencies on health, especially in KCK, the most heat and pollution and NOx dense quadrant of our region is here in KCK, and it really hurts people's health and the fossil fuel pollution of this area is really a big reason why we're on the bubble to be added to the Good Neighbor Plan, which would require reduction of those, including gas plants. So there's a few things like that that are on the bubble, as well as SPP planning practices that will bring value to transmission that hasn't been there
10
before, as I
seconds.
mentioned, but also to demand side resources. So this will include really programs that will help the most vulnerable of our customers
And that
our
is
neighbors. You say I'm out of time?
Yeah,
Oh, is the time reduced? Did I miss that?
it went
Sorry.
fast. I don't know.
Well, I'll just finish by saying I have a message bringing together all IRP recommendations that we have, the Sierra Club has offered in the past, and I'm just tailoring them to what you all have updated already. So I'll send those out to everybody as soon as I can. Thank you so much.
Well, there was, if you paid attention to the presentation today, there is a email address you can certainly send all that to,
Absolutely.
and the board will receive it. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, good.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next person signed up is Ken Snyder. Ken, if you can come up, state your name, address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
My name's Ken Snyder, live in Rose Hill subdivision. I'm glad Ms. Mulvaney Henry brought up that thought about the way that the city administrator was hired. It's good enough for them. It's good enough for this political subdivision of the BPU. I look forward to finding out who the candidates are, which we didn't get the last time. I know sometimes progress takes a little longer than we'd like. 10 years should have been done then. I would more than happily serve on that group. I have questions that I'd like to ask them, questions that should have been asked with the last selection process. We wouldn't wind up with somebody who has a federal court judgment against them for employment discrimination, making the final say in hiring and firing decisions at BPU, would we? Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Rob, is there anyone signed up online?
Yes, sir, there are no hands raised.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. I'll turn it back over to you for board comments.
Okay, board comments. Rose?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to just obviously touch on the utility network project, the GIS project. That is incredibly impressive, as Board Member Wake said earlier, and just the collaboration that has to occur between all the teams. Impressive to watch, impressive to see how far I think this utility has come from being, a traditionally municipal utility siloed organization into a lot of collaborative effort between the organizations. So thank you, Jerry, for sponsoring that. If I read the slide correct, you're the sponsor of it. But thank you guys, everyone who worked on it. I think it's going to really pay off dividends for the utility. So thank you. I believe that's all I have tonight, Mr. President.
Mary?
I'd also like to thank Jerry. And Jerry, I'd just like to say that you always give a lot of credit to your team. And as a former teacher, I find that very refreshing, and I'm glad that you do that because it really makes me see that the teamwork makes the dream work. So I appreciate that very much. And I'm on information overload for tonight with all that we've gotten. So I'm going to stop talking.
Brett?
I echo those comments. Really appreciate all the discussion and presentations tonight. Appreciate public input. Mr. Corman, thank you for commenting on the IRP process. I think as we talked about in the work session, there are some really big challenges and decisions ahead. And I know this is not something that, in everyone's day-to-day life, that they probably spend a whole lot of time thinking about the next IRP for the BPU. But as much as our constituents can be engaged in that, the better, because we're going to have to make decisions on their behalf. And, there's no perfect routes ahead, and there are trade-offs with anything that we do. So really want to encourage anyone who has an interest in that to be engaged and to let us know how they're feeling. And then lastly, like Mary said, we've covered a lot of ground tonight. It makes me appreciative of the 6 people on this board. Just saw Senator Haley's background as he's having to zoom in from the special session in Topeka, and half a year in, I've very much enjoyed the contrast of this style of local governance as as compared to my experience in the State House. And it is a pleasure working with you all and collaboratively coming to the best decisions. So I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Mr. Groneman. Certainly want to thank Bill, Jerry, Scott for the presentation, and for the wonderful work that's going on with the teamwork, as was stated earlier, to see such a wonderful computer program with the GIS happening for the entire utility, making things much easier. And then you said it's going to be, it's very cost effective. I love hearing that. And when I mentioned you a couple of meetings ago regarding, let us know how we're going to save money, you brought it this time, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I want to thank the board and Bill for allowing me to experience my first National American Public Power Association conference, along with a few other members of staff and board members. We had a wonderful time there learning to have all these organizations come together and to see how blessed we are right here in the middle of the United States to have such a wonderful utility with doing such great things, and to see how we're not threatened by many of the things that they're being threatened with nationwide. It really helps you to appreciate what we have here at BPU. And so I'm so appreciative of the staff, so appreciative of the board members, so appreciative of the general manager we have now, and hate to see that we have to choose a different one now. And moving forward, that's going to be a difficult work ahead. And I hope that we're able to choose someone that could even begin to fill your shoes, Mr. Johnson. And thank you so much for the opportunity to serve.
Senator Haley, are you on? He's dropped off? Okay. All right, I just want to echo everything that's been said. Thanks for all the presentations. Thank Black and Veatch for their presentation earlier. Very informative, very important. We've got a lot to do in the next 3 months, so buckle up. That's all I have.
Ms. Rose, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Gonzalez,
Aye.
Groneman,
Aye.
Wakes,
Aye.
Mulvaney Henry,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
That motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.